Okay, so as you see from the title, this is going to be a tutorial about how to use Google Sheets and Python within Unity to help balance a game, for example, to share data between Unity and a Google Sheet for you to edit stuff. So I want to show an example use case of how I've been using this. So we've got our game here, and you can see here that we've got some upgrades, and this is very much work in progress UI. But we can see we've got drone upgrades, we've got ship upgrades, and we have ship system upgrades. And each upgrade has a name, description, a cost here. So iron, gold, osmium, or uranium. And each upgrade has different things that it can do. So mining strength, movement speeds, cannon rotation rates, hull integrity, etc. So you can see here there's quite a lot of upgrades. Now if I want to make changes to, say, cannon rotation 1, 2 and 3, so the way I was doing this in the past is I would go to my project tab, I would find the scriptable objects, or however you are saving your information for balancing. So I would go down here to ship upgrades, and we've got cannon rotation 1, 2 and 3 here. So if I wanted to change the stats and the cost, I'd have to change this, and then I'd want to change 2, but then maybe I wanted to see what 1 was, so I could balance 2 to be a step above, or the cost, for example. So uranium, it costs 5 uranium. Maybe here I want this to cost 5 gold, and then in rotation 2 I want to cost, how much was it in iron for number 1? So I'd have to go back to 1, you flick in between them, and it's just really annoying. But now, using Python within Unity, I have a spreadsheet, and I'm using it for my spawning data as well. So which enemy and how many of that enemy. So you can see in this wave, I've got 1 gunner, 2 fighters, and 1 jumper type enemy, which is going to spawn. And it'll spawn every 5 seconds. I've got my drone upgrades. So here we can see, if we go to station upgrades, we've got cannon rotation 1, 2 and 3. This is the actual stat, so it's going to increase the rotation of my weaponry by 2 each time I unlock the upgrade. But maybe I want cannon rotation to rotate by 3 and 4 for these ones. Then I've got upgrade costs as well, so I can see all of my costs listed out here. So we've got cannon rotation here. So I'd made some changes, I hadn't downloaded those changes. So you saw that in cannon rotation 1, 2 and 3, they cost 5 uranium. Here in my latest spreadsheet, everything costs 4 iron. So if I go back to my Unity game, I can sync that spreadsheet with my project here. And I can do that in 2 ways. I can either go up to here, data downloader, but that will just download the information from Google Sheets to a CSV file on my computer. But I've created a mono behavior which lives in our main scene. So we've got game managers, and I've got my upgrade manager here. So here I can download my skills CSV, which is going to download everything from the Google Sheet and save that locally as a CSV file in the project. So you can see here the import has been completed, and then I can import the skills CSV as well. So import completed. If I go down again to capital ship upgrades and go to rotation, you can now see that iron is 4. And we can see that the capital ship upgrades, the rotation increase is 2, and I upgraded that one to 3, and that one was 4. And now this works both ways as well. So if I wanted to say, well, no, actually, cannon rotation, that increases the rotation by 6, and it should cost 4 iron, 1 uranium, 2 osmium, as an example. So I've done that locally, but I want to sync that back with my Google Sheet. So I can go over to Game Managers, and I can upload my skills CSV. And you can see that's done, and it took 3 seconds. So upload started, upload finished. If I go back now to my Google Sheet, we can actually see that Cannon rotation now costs 4 iron, 2 osmium and 1 uranium. And this gives me just a really good way to edit all of my data in just a really nice, easy, simple way. So yeah, we're going to do this in 2 parts. The first part will just be making the connection between Unity and Google Sheets so we can upload and download CSV data. And then if you want to see the more advanced stuff like, multiple upgrade tabs and this kind of styling that I've done on the sheet, please let me know in the comments. I haven't scripted that video. I do plan to make it, but if this video flops, then it's a lot of work. I'm not going to make the second part. So please, 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 if you watch this video and you want to see those more advanced features, let me know in the comments below. But this video is just going to focus on how we can actually upload and download data between Google Sheets and Unity. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new project here. So let's go to new project. For the editor version, I'll be using Unity 6, which is just released. And it doesn't really matter which pipeline we choose. I'm just going to choose Universal 2D for this. And then in the project name, we'll call this the Sheets Python. We'll call this the Sheets Python tutorial proj, and we'll hit create project. Okay, so now we're here in Unity. I'm going to go ahead and come up to Window, Package Manager, and we're going to want to install the Python scripting package, so we can just search for that. It won't be in project, it will be in the Unity registry. And you can see here Python scripting, so we'll hit install. And you can see here it says this package includes and uses Python 3.10.6 and Python for .NET, and it's editor only. So you won't be able to use this in runtime builds, but you don't actually need to go and get Python yourself as far as I know. I do have it separately installed, but it says here that it's included, it's using Python 3. So if you do run into any issues, let me know in the comments. It might be that you possibly just need to go get Python and install it. It's free. It might just be that you need to actually go get Python sort of separately, which you can do. You can find it on their website and download it. But yeah, again, just important. This isn't available in runtime builds. You can't do any Python scripting here and then build your game, and then the player at the other end won't be able to use any of the Python stuff that you've made. It's only for making your life in the editor easier and enhancing various aspects however you choose to use it. But now that's installed, I'm going to go ahead and close the package manager, and I'm just going to open up the project window here. I'll just make it a little bit bigger, and in here we're going to make a new folder, and this folder I'm just going to call data. And inside the data folder, I'm going to make 2 folders. I'm going to make one called editor, and it has to be called editor spelled correctly, E-D-I-T-O-R. And I'm also going to make a folder called resources, which again has to be spelled correctly, R-E-S-O-U-R-C-E-S, resources. If you spell either of these wrong, the code won't work. Okay, so we've created our folders. The next thing we want to do is we want to come up to Window, go down to General and choose Python Script Editor. And you can see here, this is the Python Script Editor window, and it's a little bit rubbish. It's not very fit for purpose necessarily. I wouldn't do large scripts in this. But if I just say print hello world and then hit execute, you can see here, this is our log. So just like in C# code, we can do Unity, we can do debug.log, and it comes out in the console down here. It'll come into the console here. We could do print, and this is our console. And now you notice this box is it's 2 shades of grey. There's the light shade of grey and then the dark one. If you press enter, it looks like your stuff has been deleted, but it's actually just been hidden in a random scroll box. And then eventually, once this window gets big enough, then you get the scroll bar. So yeah, it's not very user friendly, and for that reason we're not going to use this window to do our entire scripting, but we can use it for kind of a few little bits just to get our script set up. So I'm just going to delete all the white space, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type import Unity engine, and by doing that, and again it looks like it's gone, but I just need to go back up. We can type Unity engine, and then we can have debug.log, just like we would in C#. And then we can say hello world, and we can execute. And this time it will appear in our console, just like a normal debug.log. Also, you could do debug.log warning if you wanted, to get the yellow triangle, and error if you want the red exclamation mark. But we're just going to use debug.log here to get hello world. Now, with our script kind of written and the fact that this is so awful, we're going to use VS Code to actually type the scripting. But first, we need to save this script. So I'm going to click Save and Create Shortcut. And it's important you do this, because then we get a little drop down up here. So I'm going to save and create shortcut. I'm going to name this data tutorial / and then this first script will be our data uploader. So I'm going to do data space tutorial / data space uploader, and we'll hit create. And it's going to ask us somewhere to save it, and we want to save this in our data editor folder that we made. And I'm going to name this the data uploader.py. And we'll save that and let that compile. And you can see here now we've got this new drop down here called data tutorial, and we click that and then we can see data uploader. If we close the script editor, and we'll clear the log, and then if we do data tutorial data uploader, it says hello world. So it's just running that Python code, and it creates a little shortcut here to do that. So we'll clear that, and if we go over to project editor, you can see two files here. We've got a C# file and we've got a Python file. And we're going to open up the data uploader.py, the Python file. I'm going to show in Explorer, and I'm going to right click and open with Visual Studio Code. You can use any IDE. I'm just going to use Code because it's nice and lightweight. And you can see we have our code here. You might get this restricted mode for safe code browsing. You can just click Manage and then Trust. And then we can go back here. I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see the code nice and big. So yeah, this is our data uploader Python file. If we go back to our folder, we can have a quick look at the .cs file. So I'll open this with Visual Studio Code as well, and I'll just open this. So you can see all this has done is it's made a new class called menu item data uploader class, and it's just created a static void method called data uploader, and then it's got this Python runner.run file, and then it's just the direct sort of like link to where that is, the path. So we've got Python runner.run file, and then we've given it the path to our data uploader Python script. Now you can use this in any other editor script that you want, this line of code. As long as you are using Unity editor.scripting.python, you can call this method from any other method that you want. But again, this only works in the editor, so you're best off using it with editor-only code in like an editor script for buttons, for example. But you can use it in mono behaviors as well. Just know that you'll want to need to wrap that in Unity editor preprocessor directives. But yeah, I'll dive more into how we can use this in a mono behavior in the next video of this, where I'm going to show kind of how to actually create scriptable objects from new lines of a CSV file. So make sure you hit like and subscribe to be notified when that comes out. But anyway, we're going to go back over to our data uploader.py file, and we're going to actually start working on our code here. So as well as importing Unity Engine, we need to import two other packages. And if you're not familiar with Python, don't worry. The import Unity engine is just the same as here, like using Unity editor. It just allows you to use functions that are included in this namespace. Obviously, it's a lot deeper than, obviously it's more complicated than that, but just surface level to not complicate things. We're doing the same thing as we do in C#. We're doing it in Python here. So we're going to need something called gspread. So we can do import gspread, and we're going to do from, and you can see here, oauth2 client.service_account, and then from that, we're going to import service account credentials. And now, because we're using a virtual environment from within Unity, we don't have proper kind of we don't have proper like context awareness of which packages we've got installed, which is a bit of a downside. I don't actually know if there is any way to connect VS Code or any other IDE to the virtual environment within Unity, but this code isn't going to be crazily complicated. So just know that we get the squigglies saying it could not be resolved. Don't worry, we've seen the code working. Yeah, it's just a bit of a downside to this. But that said, we do need to actually install these packages. They're not just included by default. And the way we do that is we can save our Python script, and then we're going to go back over to Unity, and you notice there's no recompiling like there would be if you changed a C# script. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit, Project Settings, and then we're going to go to Python Scripting, and we're going to hit Launch Terminal. So the way you install packages in Python, if you're not aware, is we type pip install, and then the name of the package we want to install. So I'm going to install gspread, which was the first one, and we'll hit enter, and you can see that that collects the package and starts to install it. You'll get a warning saying we're using an old version of pip, but that's fine. It still works. It's just you should consider upgrading. And the next one is pip install oauth2 client. And we'll hit enter, and again, it will collect it, download it, and install it, and we'll get that warning. But then we can go ahead and close this terminal. So even though we've just installed them, again, you'll see that we have the squigglies, but don't worry. So the first thing we're going to do in our data uploader script is we're going to define a method or function which we can use to upload a CSV to Google Sheets. So to do that, I'm going to do def upload _ CSV, and this will take a path and a sheet _ ID, and we do a colon, hit enter, and then we're going to say here with open path r as f, and you can see I keep getting autocomplete suggestions here. That's GitHub Copilot, and I'm going to disable that for the sake of this video because it's really distracting. So we're going to say CSV contents, and it's going to equal f.read. So here we're opening the CSV file that's at a path. So, you know, my documents data.csv. We're going to open that and store it as a variable called f, and then we're going to read the contents into CSV contents. Okay, so now we've read the CSV contents, we want to do something with it. I'm just going to paste the next bit in, and then we'll go through it. So here we've got body equals, and then we've got this, and then we spreadsheet.batch _ update, and then we pass in this body. So what is body exactly? So here we're creating a dictionary, and we're calling it body, and it contains the structure of a request that's going to be sent to the Google Sheets API. And inside the dictionary, we have some data. We've got requests. This is a list of actions that we want to perform. And here we've obviously only got one action, which is we want to paste data. So we're requesting that we can paste some data. In coordinate, we pass a sheet ID. So this is the sheet of our spreadsheet that we want to paste the data into. Data is the actual data that we want to paste. Here we're going to paste it normally, there won't be any special formatting added. And then we're denoting the delimiter, the delimiter, that's a really hard word to say, is a comma. So we know that this is CSV contents, it's a comma separated value contents. The delimiter of that is a comma. So we're building this body and then we're going to pass it to spreadsheet.batchUpdate. So yeah, it looks complicated if you've never seen this sort of formatting before in Python, but if you just copy this specifically, it works. Again, this isn't a Python tutorial necessarily, it's just how to use Python to do this thing. So yeah, hopefully that will make sense once you actually see it in practice. But yeah, just copy this and make sure you've got the tabs in the correct place and you've formatted it correctly. And then yeah, here we've got spreadsheet.batchUpdate and we're going to pass in that body. And then I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to backspace so I'm in line with this here, this start of this function. And we're going to say unity engine.debug.log and we're just going to log that the upload is starting. So upload starting. Okay, next, before we can actually paste anything to Google Sheets and do the next bit of code, we're going to actually have to go and make our sheet. So to do that, we're going to go to our browser and I'm going to go to sheets.google.com. And once here, we're going to make a new spreadsheet. So in our spreadsheet here, this is a brand new sheet. I'm going to give it a name and I'm just going to name this data uploader tutorial, and I'm going to name this the Python upload download tutorial. So this is our sheet, and then so this is our file. In Excel, I believe this is called a workbook. That's the entire spreadsheet, which has individual sheets. So when we refer to sheet ID, each of these sheets has an ID, which we'll get in a second. But yeah, we've got our Python upload download tutorial file, and I'm just going to name our first sheet data. We'll only be using the one sheet for this. So with that created, I'm going to go to console.cloud.google.com. So console.cloud.google.com. And you can see here, this was my test project that I set up. I'm going to create a new one. So from the home page, if you are in something like this, you're going to have to create a new project. So I'm going to hit new project. I'm going to give this a name. So I'm going to call this the Python Unity video. And I'm not going to attribute it to any organization, and I'm going to hit create. You see here, this is creating my project, and I'm going to select project. So I could have selected it from this drop down as well. We've got Python Unity video, which is this new project that I've just made. And now we're going to go over to APIs and services. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. And under API and services, we're going to search for the Google Drive API. You can see here, Google Drive API. I'm going to click on that and we're going to hit enable. With this enabled, we're going to head down to credentials. And we're going to come down to manage service accounts and create service account. So we're going to create a new account here and we're going to give it a name. So let's just call this the Python Unity video service account name, and it auto generates the service account ID. And you can see here that it has an email address, pythonunityvideo@pythonunityvideo.im.gserviceaccount.com. We're going to copy this to a clipboard. I'm just going to open up Notepad. I'm going to paste that here. So here is our email address. And we'll just move that out of the way for a second. We'll come back to that. We're going to hit create and continue. And under role, we're going to click owner, hit continue, and then we'll hit done here. So again, if you didn't copy it, you can get it here. Make sure you don't share this information with anyone. I'm going to delete this project after this, so it'll be fine. But yeah, now we're at this page, we've got our service accounts. We want to come to Actions, click on these three dots and choose Manage Keys. And we're going to add a key, and we're going to create a new key, and we're going to choose key type JSON. And again, this JSON file, you have to keep it secret. That's why we're going to put it in an editor folder in the Unity project. So when we build our projects, it won't get included with our files. It's nice and safe. So we can hit close. We'll come up to our folder here, and this is in our downloads. I'm just going to open this. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to store it in our editor folder. So got our editor here. I'm going to paste this JSON file here, and I'm going to rename it client_secret. So client_secret.json. I'm going to save that, and that's in our editor folder. You can see that here in Unity. Now we're going to go back to the spreadsheet that we made, and I'm going to come and share it. So here, where we want to share it, I'm going to paste it into here. So we've got our Python Unity video email in here, and I'm going to make sure it has the editor role, and I'm going to hit send. So if we go back to share, we can now see that this email address is an editor of this spreadsheet, which gives it the permissions to actually make changes. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to our Python script, and underneath our unity.debug.log line, I'm going to create something called a scope, which is essentially going to allow us to log into our Google Sheet and actually paste data through our authorization. And the scope here looks like this. So it's scope equals, and it's a list of URLs that it needs. So we've got spreadsheets.google.com/feeds, googleapis.com/auth/spreadsheets, googleapis.com auth drive file, and then googleapis.com auth drive. So again, they're here on screen. Make sure this is your scope. And we're going to need to create some credentials as well. So let's copy this over and take a look. So credentials, this is equal to service account credentials dot, and then we're going to load up our credentials from our client secret.json. So this is from _JSON _key file _name, and then we're going to get the path to our client secret here, which for me, and hopefully for you if you've been following along, will be assets data editor client_secret.json. And we're going to pass in the scope as the second parameter there. I might need to zoom out here just so you can see the whole line. And then we're going to create a client, and we're going to authorize the login to this client through passing our credentials to this gspread.authorize function. And then finally, we're going to create a variable called spreadsheet, and this is going to equal, and then we're going to client.open, and we're going to open up the spreadsheet that we have just made. So here you need this, we're going to open it by name. So you need to make sure this matches this name. So click in, highlight it, copy, go back to your code, paste it. So now we have a spreadsheet which we've opened through the client, which we authorized via our credentials. And we've opened up the Python upload download tutorial spreadsheet. Okay, so now we've done the bulk of this, and that was the hard part. And it's not that hard, it's just a lot of complicated stuff, which again, if you don't fully understand Python, that's completely fine. Hopefully you can just follow along. So we've not made the CSV data yet, we'll do that in a second, but we'll just assume that we have, and we can do CSV data is equal to assets /data /resources /data.csv. We're going to get a sheet ID set equal to 0, and then we're going to upload our CSV using our function. So upload _CSV, passing in the path, which is CSV data, and the sheet ID, which is sheet ID. And then we can do unity engine.debug.log upload finished. So how do I know that the sheet ID is 0? If we go back over to our worksheet here, and we're on our data tab here, and we can see up in the URL it says GID equals 0. The first sheet in your workbook will always be 0. If you hit plus and add a new sheet, so sheet 3, we have this GID, just a random string of numbers, 19388045512. And we'll call this data 2. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. But next, we actually need to make a CSV file. So I'm going to go back over to Unity. So I'm going to go over to our editor folder in our Windows Explorer. And I'm going to right click, new text document. And I'm just going to call this data.csv. So this is our CSV file here. And again, make sure you've saved it as data.csv, or like name it whatever you want in whichever folder you want, but make sure that that path, wherever you save it, matches the path that you're writing here. You might want it to be in a resources folder so you can access this CSV in other files. So if you're storing data, you'll need to then read that data within Unity at runtime, which you can do. And again, I'll be covering that and more in the second part of this video. But for now, yeah, make sure wherever you save your CSV file and whatever you call it matches this URL path here. Okay, so with that done, let's go back to our folder and we'll open up our CSV file. And I'm just going to open this up in Notepad for now. Okay, so we're going to open up our CSV file in Notepad, and the format of a CSV file is quite simple. So you have a row of headers, so we'll say item name, item description, and again you separate them by comma. We'll do value, which can be an int, for example, of gold. And then we'll have a bool, which we'll call junk. So is it a junk item? So here we could have the Sword of Doom, and the description will be it's a Doom sword. The value can be 50 gold, and it's not junk. So if you want to do bools in a CSV for Google Sheets, you need to do them all caps. And each line doesn't end with a comma. It ends just with you press return on the keyboard, enter. So we've got here item name, item description, value junk. We've got Sword of Doom is the item name. It's a Doom sword is the item description. Value is 50, junk is false. And we'll add another one. We'll just call this the wooden stick. It's brown and sticky. It's worth 1 gold, and this is junk. And we'll hit save, and we'll save our data. Now, if everything has gone well, which it never does when I'm recording these, and if it doesn't, we'll debug it. We can go back over to Unity. We have our client secret, we have our data, which here I've saved this in the wrong folder. This is in my editor folder. We need to move that over to resources because that's where I said it was going to be. So yeah, we've got our secret, our data uploader Python script, our CS file, and in resources we have our data. So I'm going to open up the console, and then we're going to go to data tutorial and choose data uploader. And let's bring up Google Sheets as well so we can see this happen in real time. So yeah, we have our blank sheet here. Go to Window, we'll go to data tutorial, data uploader, and hit that. And we have an error, which again, like I said, never goes well the first time. So let's just read that. Expected an indented block after the with statement on line 6. So let's double click that, and let's go back to our file, line 6, is this one. Okay, so body here needs to be in line with, so all of this needs to be in line with our width here. So Python is very funny about the exact amount of tabs between stuff. So if I hit save, go back to Unity, clear the log, open up our Python uploader, and we'll do data tutorial data uploader. So upload starting, and then we get a issue here. Google Sheets API has not been used in project. Enable it by visiting, and then it gives a link here. So let's just copy the URL. And I was expecting this error. It seems to happen the first time you try to use it. So if we go over here, paste that in. You also need to enable the Google Sheets API as well. So we'll choose enable here. So that's enabled. Now we'll go back to our spreadsheet, clear the log, data tutorial, data uploader. And you can see here, item name, item description, value, and junk. And that bit was unedited. I didn't cut out time. It's just quick. Upload starting, and you can see 2 seconds later, it had finished. So it took 2 seconds and it uploaded these. And the reason we did these as false and true in all caps is because if you now delete these and go to insert and insert tick box, you can see as false, it presents as false, all capital letters. If you did like normal sentence case or lowercase, it wouldn't work. And now we can copy this checkbox, and we can have that as many times, and we can say that this one is junk, so that's true. And we've got multiple checkboxes here. If we change our CSV file, so if we have another item of junk, old rusty can. It's a rusty can. It's worth 1, and this is also junk. If we save that, data tutorial, data uploader, we've now got it's a rusty can, it's worth 1, and you can see that it's come in with a check mark because we had the checkbox in place and we put true in all caps. So if you want to style these cells, you can do, because each time we upload, we're pasting it in, so the formatting stays the same. We don't overwrite the formatting. So we can have checkboxes, we can make this bold, you could center them or whatever. So now, how do we, if we wanted to add another item, so we're not having to do it in WordPad, we want this nice presented thing here, we could do the Shield of Destiny. It's a shield destined to protect you. And this is worth 50 gold as well. And this isn't junk, so we'll leave that checkbox empty. So how do we now get this back into our data CSV folder to keep them in sync? So for that, we're going to need to open up our window general Python script editor again. And now we're going to make a Python downloader script, which I'm just going to save a blank file for now. We'll do save and create shortcut. I'm going to put this under the data tutorial menu, and I will call this the data downloader. And it's going to want to choose a file. We'll call this data downloader.py, and we'll hit save. I'm going to come over to VS Code, and just to keep this easier, I'm going to go File, Open Folder. I'm going to come back to our data folder, and I'm going to select that folder and just open the entire folder in VS Code, and we can hit true, and then we can see our files here. We don't have to keep on approving each file. So we can even see our CS files here. Just something to note, if you spell this wrong, for example, if you did data tutoria, this is the CS file, the C# file. If when you saved and created a shortcut in that little box that came up, if you spelt it wrong, you can see that we've got data tutorial and data tutoria. That would really annoy me. So if you do that wrong at that stage when it asks you to save a file and you've realized you've not spelled it correctly, you can open up the CS file and you can change that here. So we can fix that spelling and that will correct that mistake. So don't worry if you've saved the shortcut in the wrong place. But for now, we'll go to datadownloader.py. So here we are in datadownloader.py, which again is empty. And it's almost the exact same script as our datauploader.py, but we're just doing stuff in reverse. So we need to use the exact same imports. So we'll copy and paste them over. The method download.csv is slightly more complex than the upload one. So we'll do this one from scratch. We won't copy and paste anything. So we'll do def and we'll do download_CSV, and here we'll pass in our path and sheet ID, which is the same as it was in the upload CSV file. But here we're going to get the spreadsheet. So we're going to do sheet equals spreadsheet.get_worksheet by ID, and we'll pass in our sheet ID. And then we're going to get all of the row values. So we'll say rows is equal to sheet.get_all_values. And then we're going to turn each row into a CSV kind of configured format. So we're going to say here, CSV contents is equal to, and we're going to use a new line break character, and we're going to join everything with a comma. Sorry, I forgot my curly bracket. So we're going to join. So for every row in our rows, we're going to join each item by a comma. So we've got a row here. We're going to get each cell from that row, and we're going to join it by a comma. And then at the end, we're going to do a new line, and then we're going to get the next row, and we'll get sort of doom, and then we'll join it with a comma, and we'll build out this string, which we're going to call CSV contents. And now we're going to do with open, and we're going to open the file at the path, and we're going to open it so we can write to it. And we're going to open this as a variable called f, and we're just going to write the contents. We're going to write our CSV contents to that file. So f.write CSV contents. And then we're going to come back, so we're not in the function anymore, and we can say unity engine.debug.log download starting. And now the next bit of code is essentially the same. Well, it's pretty much exactly the same as our data uploader script. So you just need to make sure you change any variables that say upload to rename them to say download. So let's just copy that in. So here, upload CSV becomes download CSV. We can say download finished, but the CSV data path and the sheet ID, that's the same. The scope's the same, the credentials are the same, so that should be fine. So we hit save here, and we'll go back to Unity. And we're going to need to let this recompile this time because I changed this. I did that correction. So we're just going to let that recompile. I should have had this doing this in the background. Okay, so we're back in Unity. I'm going to close that. So the CSV file that we have on disk, if I open that up, it's just got the old rusty can. It doesn't have the Sword of Destiny. Let's close that. If I now go to Data Tutorial Data Downloader, and we can see download starting, download finished. And if we open up our data file again, we now have the Shield of Destiny. It's a shield destined to protect you, and it's worth 50, and it's not junk. So now you can go through and you can add quite a lot of items to your CSV file in Google Sheets, and it makes it really simple. Now, just to show you this Sheet ID thing as the last step. So if we wanted to upload this information to Sheet 2, or if you had, say, a CSV file that had, you had your items on this side, and then you wanted stats on this page, and then you had something else, like I showed in the example, I had multiple upgrades that took different CSV files. So the way you would do that is you've got your ID here for this sheet. So let's just copy this, and we'll hit copy, and we'll go down to our script. And we've got our uploader and downloader scripts. So in uploader, we have sheet ID here equals 0. If I wanted to put it onto sheet 2, I can just change sheet ID to that, and we'll do download. That would have to be the same. Sheet ID. If I go back over to Unity, data tutorial, data uploader, if we go over to our file, you can see here now on data 2, which was using this ID, it's pasted the information here instead. And obviously we're just working with one piece of data here. If we wanted to, like I said, again, I showed in the example, we had multiple CSV files and we were uploading them to multiple sheets in our spreadsheet. All you have to do there is, if we make some space, so let's call this our item CSV data, and that's going to go into sheet 0. And then let's say we had upgrade CSV data. And I'm going to make a new CSV file, and I'll name that upgrade data.csv. And that's going to sheet underscore ID, this one. So this is our upgrade sheet, and maybe we'd want to call that, so upgrades sheet ID, and this is our items sheet ID. So let's pass that into we're in our download function here. But again, we can copy this over. So item sheet, download CSV, upgrade sheet, download CSV, item CSV. So we're going to pass in our upgrade CSV data to our upgrade sheet path. And let's just copy this, and we'll go over to our uploader, and we'll copy this here, including these new variable names, but we'll just need to say upload CSV as the function. So we don't have upgrade data CSV yet, so let's just quickly make that. So go to resources, we have data CSV. Let's now create new text document and call this upgrades data.csv. Upgrades data.csv. Again, make sure that matches. We'll open up this one, upgrades data.csv, and we can make a new one. So we'll say upgrade name, upgrade description, unlocked at start, XP point cost, and we'll say double jump twice is the description, it's unlocked at the start, and it costs 10 XP points. We'll save that, go to Unity, have our spreadsheet up. So again, we're in data 2, and remember this is a paste, so it won't overwrite everything completely, and I'll show you what I mean. So we'll do data tutorial, data uploader, and there's an issue, no such file or directory. Again, I didn't save the file, so Control S. Data tutorial, data uploader. So you can see here, because it pastes it, if you've got anything else in the sheet, it won't delete that. It's not a complete override. And the reason we do it as a paste is so it can keep your formatting. If you did it as a complete override, it would get rid of the formatting. So what you'd want is a complete empty sheet. So let's just get rid of everything in our upgrade sheet, and we can call this the upgrades data, item data. So with a blank sheet, we'll do window, data tutorial, data uploader, and that's uploaded the double jump upgrade. We can do the triple jump, jump thrice, and it's not unlocked at start, and this costs 50 upgrade points. Data tutorial, data downloader, download finished, upgrade data, close the one that was open. That hasn't worked because the file was spelt wrong in data downloader. So data tutorial, data downloader, and now we have our triple jump here. So that's how you can have multiple sheets, multiple bits of data. You just need to, that's why we made this a function. We can call it numerous times. So you just need a path and you need a sheet ID. And again, if we just make a new sheet that has a different ID. Okay, so I hope that all made sense. That's a really good start. If you want to now just use that, you can use that in your project. If you want to dive a bit more advanced and actually learn how we can use CSVs that are on our disk to create new scriptable objects or load them into existing scriptable objects, that will be covered in the next video. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. I've not actually scripted or recorded it yet, so if there's not a lot of interest, I can save myself some time. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd like to see. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.